Okay, so this video is in response to all these comments that I'm receiving in regards of paying a very, very high rent living in the city versus owning a home somewhere else for much, much cheaper, like $1,000 a month, and having a 3-bedroom house and a 2-car garage and a pool, or maybe $1,500 a month and have a 3-bedroom house and a pool and 2-car garage and all that stuff. And why I would personally choose to live in the city and pay $2,000 a month and live in a shoebox, versus to pay like $1,500 a month and have this really, really big house. Okay. Just lately, I've been seeing a lot of comments like this, and I thought that I would make a video because I think a lot of city people can relate with this because they live in the city. But if you don't live in the city, maybe you just can't relate with it. And maybe I'll just make a video, and I thought maybe I'll just make a video talking about this. So, okay, first off, when you take renters, when you ask someone how much they pay for rent, they'll tell you how much they pay for rent. Okay. Now, that's usually all that they have to pay. Renters don't have to pay for property tax. Renters don't have to pay for they don't have to pay for maintenance. Like if something breaks, they don't have to fix anything. If the building needs a new roof, they don't have to come up with money for a roof. So for the most part, renters have very, very little expense. Okay. Renters have to put down usually first month's rent in most places. Some places you have to put down first month's and security deposit, but usually it's about, first month's rent or first month and a security deposit that equals first month's. So a renter is, a renter doesn't have much responsibility, okay? In the past couple of videos I've shown apartments in San Francisco. These apartments in San Francisco are really, really, really small apartments, okay? And when you look at how small these apartments are, you may wonder like how much is something like the utilities. Well, a lot of these places that I'm showing, the utilities of these places will be anywhere from like $20 to $40 a month because they're really, really small. Now, a homeowner, on the other hand, a homeowner is very, very proud to say that they're a homeowner, and it's something that they should be proud of saying. I mean, I would be proud to say I own something too, That's part of the American dream. But a homeowner, okay, they have to pay the mortgage, and they have to pay, property tax. They have to pay insurance, which is slightly higher than what a renters would pay for renters insurance. But then they also have to pay for, like, if it's a condo, you have to pay for a HOH fee. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, nope, I own my own home. I would never buy a condo. A condo is not American because there's the HOH fee. You can't control it. They can change things. Okay, you don't pay a HOH fee. You own your own house flat out. Well, guess what? You still have to do maintenance on your house. Like you have to do something to your yard. Like you have to cut your grass. You have to rake the leaves. You have to do stuff. Like, if it snows, you have to, I mean, maybe you clear out your driveway so you can get your car out of the driveway. This is something that renters don't do. Renters don't care about the landscaping. Renters don't have to worry about the landscaping, Maybe you have a small yard and you don't have to worry about it as much. Or maybe you have a really, really big yard and it costs you hundreds of dollars a month to have your yard mowed. But yet you're a homeowner and, you got the American dream, okay? But yet, you have all this space and it costs you a lot of money. Now let's talk about utilities. Now, I just happen to live in California, and in California, it doesn't really get that cold. So people don't really use like the heat as much. Now, in places like, in the East, people use a lot more heat. And if you have a larger house, it's just going to cost more to heat it. Okay. If you have a larger house, it's going to cost more to air condition that larger house. Now, the only place I can really compare this to is Memphis, my hometown that I moved to. Now, I lived in New York, which is kind of very similar to San Francisco. And I've also lived in like Santa Barbara, which kind of has sort of the same pricing as San Francisco too. And I lived in LA for a little bit, sort of similar pricing. So I can compare it with Memphis. And in Memphis, yeah, I can go back home and I could buy a a house for maybe $150,000. Okay, I get a 3-bedroom house, and I have a mortgage of about maybe I'll be out the door paying the bank $1,300 a month. Okay, but then I'm gonna also have a front yard and a backyard, and I'm gonna have to have that mowed every month. And how much is that gonna cost me more every month? So I'm paying $1,300 to the bank. So how much more is it gonna cost me to keep up on the yard? This is gonna be an expense that's never gonna go away. It's never gonna go away. But how much is it gonna be? It's gonna be $100 every month. It's gonna be $200 every month. Of course it fluctuates. In the winter, I don't have to mow the lawn, but then in the winter, I'm gonna have to rake leaves because, there's lots of trees, and with lots of trees, there's lots of leaves everywhere. So this could be another situation. And then, back to air conditioning and heating a house that size. Back home in Memphis, I know plenty of people that pay more than $200 to $300 to $400 to heat a house, but yet they have that American dream. Some things can be more expensive when you're a homeowner. Repairs and maintenance. Now, what a lot of homeowners do when they need a new roof, instead of just reaching into their pocket or, going to the bank and, or swiping their credit card and just buying the roof, a lot of times they'll just like refinance the house, or like they'll take the money out of the house and pay for the roof. So in that scenario, it's almost like they're kind of paying rent because they're not really paying. They're not paying for it with their everyday money. They're paying for it with like their home loan. So when you're a homeowner, you can do these things, and these things actually cost you greatly in the long run. But a renter wouldn't do these things because a renter is renting, and a renter is not responsible for these things. Okay? So when you look at renting versus owning, I kind of look at owning is whenever someone tells me what they pay in their mortgage, that is nowhere near what it actually is, versus when someone is renting, that's very, very close to what that actual amount that they're paying. And that's just the first example. I don't know if this is making any sense. I'm sort of freestyling this video. Another reason why I don't mind living in the city is, okay, when you live in the city, it's very, very dense, right? So it's really, really easy to get around. And by it being very, very easy to get around, you don't need a car, okay? So what is a car? A car is a depreciating asset, okay? So a lot of people in the city, yeah, maybe they pay more in rent, or maybe some people pay a whole lot more in rent versus someone else who lives outside of the city. But someone else who lives outside of the city, yeah, like I say, they're going to pay less in rent, but they're also going to have a car, okay? And what is a car? A car is a depreciating asset, all right? You have to buy the car. Once you buy the car, $10,000, it loses value. And then once it loses value over time, it also costs you money over time to operate it, okay? It costs you money to store if you're not using it, okay? Now, I guess if you own a house, maybe it doesn't cost you money to store if you're not using it, because you can just park it at your house, in your garage, your driveway, because it's yours, But me living in the city, I like the fact that I live in a place where I don't need a car, and I don't need to buy a depreciating asset. I don't need to buy something that loses value just because I live in a place where I can get around without a car. Now, I do have an electric skateboard, which is very, very cheap to get around on, and an electric bike, which is even cheaper than the electric skateboard to operate. I mean, I guess the skateboard and the bike are like depreciating assets, but they literally cost like pennies to operate. Like, what it costs like 25 cents to like charge the bike and the skateboard a week or something like that. Like that's basically nothing versus the amount of gas that I would buy. Now, of course, people always say when you pay rent, you throw money away. Not necessarily. If you live in the city and you're worried about that. You're worried about not having, you're paying rent all these years, and you're not going to have anything ever. Well, what you should do is you should set money aside every month and just call it a home equity account, right? Because that's basically what people do when they pay a mortgage. A large percent of the payment goes to interest. Some goes to property tax, some goes to insurance. And in the beginning of the loan, very, very little goes to the actual principal. And that's the equity, that's the amount that you put into the house. And what a lot of people do over time, once the home values go up, the amount of equity increases. So what people do is, as the equity increase in their home, they'll take equity out, right? And they'll buy a car. And then they'll take some more equity out and send their kids to college if, I don't know, man. I don't know how you would do that unless you had also another thing about living in a place that's very, very expensive is, just because a place is very, very expensive doesn't mean you can't find a good deal. And if you can find a good deal, you can possibly come out much better than someone owning a really, really nice house with all this land and all this stuff. You can come out much, much better, like financially wise. Like, for example, like lately I've been looking at places around the $2,000 mark. But right now, like, I don't pay nowhere near $2,000, okay? So what if I did something like I found a place for like $800? And what if I was able to make $2,000 a week, okay? Now, come on, if I went back home to my hometown, there's no way I could make $2,000 a week doing what I'm doing. Because if I really wanted to, I could go out and work like 80 hours a week, 70 hours a week, and I can make that much in that short amount of time, which is 1 week, right? And then I can also find a place that's really, really cheap, paying rent, okay? Really, really cheap. Maybe it's like a room in a house, but like the opportunity cost, right? And I can take all of that money that I'm making, I can invest it in something, or I can buy that freaking house in Memphis. Put $30,000 down, work like crazy in a very, very expensive place. Okay, work like crazy in the very expensive place, live cheap there, save your money and invest in a cheap place. Okay, I mean, there is that scenario, or there's the scenario of taking that money and not investing it into an actual real estate. You can invest into ETF. Okay, now this is more of the scenario that I'm doing, is I'm basically picking stocks and ETFs to invest the money with, because honestly, I don't know where I want to live. I don't know where I want to like settle down, and I haven't exactly figured it out. And since I haven't exactly figured it out, just wait, just buy some stocks instead. Stocks have been going up like crazy in value. Like if you would have bought Tesla last year, you would have been up like more than 300% this year. And there's no real estate market I've heard of that has went up 300% in 1 year. Okay, so think about those apples. I was looking at a condo in San Francisco recently that was selling for $330,000, and I was thinking, okay, so if I had like $70,000 last year and I put that down on this condo, yeah, I would have a condo, right? Yeah, I would have a condo. I'd be paying like, $3,000 to the bank every month, right? Really, really expensive, okay? Or I could have put that $70,000 in Tesla and it could have been up times 3, Let me rephrase that to the people that don't live in big cities. I could have bought a 5-bedroom house in Vegas for $335,000, right? And I would have to put like $70,000 down, okay? And then I would, have to pay about, $3,000 to the bank every month, okay? On this really cool house that I just got in Vegas. Or I could have put that $70,000 in Tesla and still stayed here in San Francisco, expensive place, still paying rent, $1,000+ a month, a room and a house. And now the Tesla stock has went up 3 times in a year, Now, I'm using this Tesla as an example because it actually did that like this past year. Now, I can't imagine it, that happening every time with like every year with different stocks. So that's just like a fleek of that's like a random thing. But one thing I will say is stocks can typically outperform real estate a lot, and also stocks are very liquid. You can sell stocks with a couple of buttons on Robinhood, but you can't exactly just sell a house really fast. You gotta have inspections, and you gotta have people come and check it out, and you just can't like just sell a house like you can sell a stock. So I don't know. Hopefully this video made some sense. Like I kind of feel like I was all over in this video, but yeah, I kind of wanted to just cover a couple of things because I've been seeing a lot of comments like that, and I just want people to know that there's definitely some there's definitely great benefits of living in the city. There's definitely great benefits. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and if you guys want to see more videos like this from me, let me know. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Peace out.